Yep.
The voice of Alabama politics, with your host, Bill Brett. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
20, 19, 18. Lee County Courthouse at day 2 of the Mike Hubbard Criminal Trial. I'm Bill Brett.
And I'm Susan Brett.
Coming to you for Alabama political reporter and the voice of Alabama politics. We're glad that you're joining us for this live update.
Welcome.
Susan, it was not a good day for the defense. We heard that from several attorneys in the audience. I mean, it was blistering, wasn't it?
It was blistering, and it was one of those where you know, like a fireworks show where you see one little explosion and 2 little explosions and then a really big explosion. You saw a huge explosion in Josh Blades today.
Josh Blades, Mike Hubbard's former chief of staff, now a lobbyist with Bradley Arant, admitted that Hubbard had hidden the fact from him that he was working for the American Pharmacy Cooperative, Inc. when he was complicit in putting 23 words into the Medicaid budget that would have given Hubbard's lobbying client a monopoly over Medicaid, a $20 million monopoly a year.
And it's also was revealed today that Josh Blades was not aware of that until John Ross, as we reported yesterday, made him aware of it. He immediately went to the speaker, brought it to his attention, and the speaker kind of dusted him off a little bit, but he wasn't buying that.
Well, he got so desperate that Hubbard should not vote on this budget to pass this amendment that was going to give his client a $20 million a year monopoly, that he went to the floor, went up to the speaker's desk, where he sat there with his gavel and told the speaker, do not vote yes on this issue. Do not vote on this bill. And the speaker, what did he do, Susan?
He pushed the green button and voted yes anyway, and said it would look bad if the speaker voted against his own bill, even though it was a Senate originating bill.
He told Josh Blades and others that it would send up too many red flags. And those red flags, we were believed, were the fact that he was getting paid, what, $10,000 a month?
$10,000 or $12,000.
$10,000 or $12,000 a month from APCI to do just what he did. I mean, it was a compelling argument. Josh Blades did a great job, even though you can tell he didn't want to be.
He did, and it was very upsetting. It had to be. I mean, he believed in this man. He was there working for him, you know, trying to do all the right things. All of a sudden, this big deal comes down. Now he realizes that the speaker has a client in APCI. He's in the middle of this, and he said that he was upset about this afterwards, so much so that he went to Philip Bryan's house afterward because he was so upset because he played a role and was afraid that there could be legal implications for the speaker.
Philip Bryan, the chief of staff for Senator Dale Marsh, he said was his good friend. He needed someone
Also one of the ones that's in the indictments.
right, and he also.
And the speaker kind of dusted him off a little bit, but he wasn't buying that.
Well, he got so desperate that Hubbard should not vote on this budget to pass this amendment that was going to give his client a $20 million a year monopoly, that he went to the floor, went up to the speaker's desk, where he sat there with his gavel and told the speaker, do not vote yes on this issue. Do not vote on this bill. And the Speaker, what did he do, Susan?
He pushed the green button and voted yes anyway, and said it would look bad if the Speaker voted against his own bill, even though it was a Senate originating bill.
He told Josh Blades and others that it would send up too many red flags. And those red flags, we believed, were the fact that he was getting paid, what, $10,000 a month?
$10,000 or $12,000.
$10,000 or $12,000 a month from APCI to do just what he did. I mean, it was a compelling argument. Josh Blades did a great job, even though you can tell he didn't want to be.
He did, and it's very upsetting. It had to be. I mean, he believed in this man. He was there working for him, trying to do all the right things. All of a sudden, this big deal comes down. Now he realizes that the Speaker has a client in APCI. He's in the middle of this, and he said that he was upset about this afterwards, so much so that he went to Philip Bryan's house afterward because he was so upset because he played a role and was afraid that there could be legal implications for the Speaker.
Philip Bryan, the chief of staff for Senator Dale Marsh, he said was his good friend. He needed someone to confide in after the vote was cast. It goes back to John Ross and what Tim House said. Tim House said, we've all got ethics problems.
Yeah.
Ethics problems.
Ethics problems and legal problems.
That wasn't the only bombshell that Josh Blades last dropped today.
No.
He also talked about how Speaker Hubbard had ordered him to help with a patent for Bobby Abrams. Bobby Abrams is one of the people that invested $150,000.
$150,000. Also, one of the ones that's in the indictments.
Right, and he also is a New York businessman who has business interests in Auburn. He had a patent that he was having trouble with, and Hubbard had Josh Blades help him.
Josh Blades had a friend out of when he went to school in Mississippi that was involved somehow with a congressman in Washington that happened to know some people at the patent office. So Josh Blades gets this information, calls the patent office, and starts trying to get this process for what he thought at the time was Hubbard's one of his constituents.
Yeah.
It was one of his constituents that he was doing this for on our state time. So he starts doing this, and all of a sudden Speaker Hubbard starts pressuring him to the point he finally told Hubbard that he just needed to kind of handle it himself from now on. At the time, he did not know that Bobby Abrams was paying Mike Hubbard.
And he was paying him $10,000
yes, he
a
was.
month. And this was the killer. When Josh Blades said to Speaker Hubbard, his boss, why is this so important? What did he say to him, Susan?
Well, about 100,000 reasons.
He said, I have 100,000 reasons.
And when pressured on that, he finally told the jury that he believed those 100,000 reasons represented $100,000.
That was the kind of day it's been. We also heard testimony from the former senior VP for Auburn Network, a man who has been with Mike Hubbard for 15 years. He's now a part-time employee. He did not say why he's now part-time, but he revealed that he never knew that Mike Hubbard had these contract arrangements or what they were for.
He did. Chris Hines, when he took this as to what these companies were, what they did, what Hubbard was doing for them, all that he was really in charge of, that were doing business with Auburn Network.
He also said that he didn't know of any other employees that had any activities with these companies, and he pointed out that while Mike was in fact bringing in, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month, he was also paying himself $120,000 a year and taking dividends.
Yes, he was taking dividends, in which he said were with no regular intervals, with no regular amounts. Apparently, they were just here and there, and not anything that in any normal accounting world you would consider a dividend, say a year-end dividend.
A lot of this was about APCI. We'll go back to that for just a second. Jeff Woodard, clerk of the House, testified on how the process took place. And what else did he add to it?
Well, he added to it that also he got all of these records, the budgets and everything on record as being the official ones from the House records.
Right. And then Jason Isabel, who at the time was chief legal counsel to Mike Hubbard in his role as Speaker and in the House, said that he was the one who wrote up the language that put the 23 words in the budget giving APIC its monopoly, or would have given it their monopoly, Where did he say he got it from?
Actually, he typed it. He transcribed it from a handwritten paragraph or 2 paragraphs on a legal pad brought to him by Farrell Patrick and Greg Wren. One was to do with Department of Corrections, and the other one was to do with the Medicaid thing. The only thing he did to change that in his testimony was he changed some spelling and maybe some punctuation errors.
So the 23 words were written by a lobbyist and a
sitting
legislator who, by the way, pled guilty to it being a crime.
This
what he
very
did.
same thing.
And Jason Isbell was very, very concerned that he run this language by the speaker for the speaker's approval. Josh Blades
Took it to him
on the floor.
He said, or maybe that wouldn't be something he'd run by the speaker, but this he considered so important that he actually got bullet points because he knew the speaker was so busy on the floor that he got bullet points to put in from him. The speaker did take the time, did look at it, and did tell him to go forward. Now, here's something else interesting that Isabel said. And during that, he got the feeling that Wren, Patrick, and Norris Green.
Yeah, and we know from Wren's testimony and his plea agreement that they in fact had several meetings where a lot of players were together and they did know about it. What they're doing, Susan, is they are building a case one brick at a time, and we saw some very heavy bricks laid today, including one brick that showed that one of the companies that was employing Hubbard had actually written in the memo section that it was for lobbying.
Yes, it was. It was Edgenuity. When they flashed the check up on the screen and Chris Hines was on the stand, he identified the check, and then the prosecution noted that in the for section on the bottom of the check it said lobbying services.
Now, one of the things that Bill Baxley has tried to prove as Hubbard's defense attorney on cross-examination, he first made the argument that the 23 words were just little tiny mouse type in the budget.
In a document this big, in opening statements.
So, Acting Attorney General Van Davis, on direct addressing a witness, said, "Is this the entire budget?" And the entire budget is about 4 or 5 of these.
Mm-hmm. It was about this big.
And it proved to the jury that Baxley has in fact misled them. He also showed that the type, that it wasn't all that mouse type. I mean, it just made...
Here, turn to this segment, and this is why Judge Blades was on the stand. Turn to that section, I believe it was page 69 of that, through the jurors for them to look at it in a hard copy. Now, the prosecution offered to have it put on the overhead screen, but Baxley wouldn't allow that. He wanted them to actually see it and touch it.
One of the funny things, he kept fanning it in front of them to make it look bigger. I mean, it was a show.
It started on the 3rd row so that it could meet Baxley's copy coming up from the bottom.
The judge didn't look happy.
He was not happy.
You know, again, it's very hard to read how a jury is hearing the information, how they're receiving it. Bill Baxley has been a very, very good trial lawyer. But we talked to some very good trial lawyers today, and they said the defense had a very, very bad day. I'm Bill Britt.
And I'm Susan Britt.
We'll be here tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.
We'll see you tomorrow.